His touch defies her deadly curse. Can it save the galaxy? The containment field shattered with a scream of splintered light, 1,000 jagged shards of energy exploding into the sterile air of Lumora Orbital Station. Sparks cascaded like dying stars, illuminating the cold steel of the laboratory as the violet storms of Zora 9 churned beyond the viewport. Dr. Cale Vance didn't think he acted. His hand shot forward, closing around Princess Liriana's wrist as she stumbled from the collapsing barrier. Her skin, a mesmerizing tapestry of silver scales, burned warm against his palm like moonlight forged in fire. The room froze. The hum of bioscanners and the frantic beep of Kyle's heart monitor were the only sounds daring to pierce the silence. Across the lab, Dr. Nora Cade pressed herself against a console, her hazel eyes wide with dread. Security Chief Jessa Kane's plasma pistol was half drawn, her knuckles white as she braced for disaster. Behind the reinforced observation window, Ambassador Marcus Dre stood paralyzed, his face ashen, his breath fogging the glass. They were all waiting for one thing: Kyle's death. Liriana's emerald eyes locked onto his, her slit pupils dilating like twin voids swallowing starlight. Delicate scales traced elegant spirals along her cheekbones, vanishing beneath the flowing opalescent robes that shimmered from pearl to midnight. Her pointed ears twitched, and her lips parted in a gasp. Her voice a haunting melody laced with terror. "Release me," she whispered, the words trembling with a cadence that was both alien and achingly human. "You don't know what you've done." But Cale didn't let go. He couldn't. Her touch sent a tingling warmth spiraling up his arm, settling deep in his chest. Not the searing agony that had turned 3 human diplomats to ash in seconds, their screams silenced before they could echo. This was something else, something impossible, defying every law of biology he'd staked his career on. His grip tightened, feeling the delicate pulse of her alien life beneath his fingers, a rhythm that felt like it was syncing with his own. "I'm not dying," he said, his voice steady despite the chaos screaming in his mind. The words were more for himself than her, a lifeline to anchor him against the madness. Elder Vorus Liriana's father and leader of the Siltheri stepped forward, his towering frame casting a shadow that swallowed the lab's sterile light. His skin, a deep obsidian etched with glowing ancestral runes, pulsed with barely contained fury. "Step back, human," he growled, his voice like tectonic plates grinding. "Her touch is death. If you survive now, it's only a delay." "No." Kyle's eyes flicked to the bioscanners lining the walls. Screens flickered with data painting a story that defied belief. Liriana's vitals screamed with spikes, heart rate soaring, skin conductivity. Off the charts, the unmistakable signatures of her species' lethal defense mechanism. But Kyle's readings, they were a rebellion against science itself. Where there should have been cellular collapse, organ failure, the cascade of annihilation, his body showed only a faint uptick in adrenaline. A spark of connection, not destruction. Nora peeled herself from the console, her tablet trembling in her hands. "This is insane," she stammered, her scientific mind grappling with the impossible. "Her toxin should have liquefied your bloodstream by now. Your nervous system should be—" Silent Cale finished, turning to her without releasing Liriana. "Check the data again, Nora. I'm alive." Marcus's voice crackled through the intercom, sharp with panic. "Dr. Vance, release the princess now. You're risking a diplomatic catastrophe." "Risk?" Cale snapped, his gaze still locked on Liriana's face. Her breathing quickened, her chest rising beneath the gossamer robes that shifted from silver to deep indigo as if mirroring her fear. "Risk the first chance we've had in centuries to understand the Siltheri, risk discovering why I'm standing here when I should be a pile of ash." Liriana stared at their joined hands, her expression a storm of wonder and dread. "In 400 years," she said, her voice barely a whisper, "no male has touched me and lived. Not since my binding ritual, not even my own kin. The weight of her words crashed into the room like a meteor. 4 centuries of isolation. 4 centuries as a living weapon feared by her people, untouchable by all. Kyle felt it, the crushing loneliness behind her regal poise, the ache hidden in her luminous eyes. He'd studied the Siltheri files, memorized their rituals, but hearing it from her lips made it real in a way no data could. "I'm touching you now," he said, his voice gentle but unyielding. Her eyes lifted to his, and for a moment the lab, the alarms, the staring scientists faded away. In her gaze he saw something raw, something that had nothing to do with her deadly biology and everything to do with the woman beneath the myth. Hope flickered there, fragile as a spark in a void, warring with centuries of despair. "You're not afraid?" she asked, her voice trembling with disbelief. Terrified, Kyle admitted, a wry smile tugging at his lips. "But not of you." The bio-alarms fell silent, their readings stabilizing. Kyle's vitals held steady, defying every expectation. The room's tension shifted, no longer a crisis, but a mystery too profound to ignore. Nora edged closer, her tablet already recording. "We need to study this," she said, her fear giving way to hunger for answers. "If Kyle's immune, no experiments." Vorus's voice thundered as the chamber doors hissed open. The Siltheri elder strode in his obsidian skin, glinting, his 4 eyes blazing with rage. "My daughter returns to her sanctuary now." Liriana's fingers twitched in Kale's grip, her pulse jumping beneath his thumb. "Honored father," she began, her voice steady despite the storm in her eyes. "If this could mean something for our people." "There is nothing to discuss," Vorus cut her off, his gaze fixed on Kale with venom. "Release her, human." Kyle's hand lingered, reluctant to break the connection, not just for science, but for something deeper, something he couldn't name. The way Liriana's skin seemed to hum against his, the way her presence felt like a puzzle piece slotting into place. It was madness, but it was real. "What if we schedule a controlled test?" He said, his words aimed at Vorus, but his eyes never leaving Liriana. Full monitoring, total oversight. "Absolutely not," Marcus barked through the intercom. The diplomatic fallout could change everything, Kale countered, his voice rising. "We came to Lumora to bridge our worlds. What better way than proving we can touch without dying?" Liriana's lips curved in a faint, defiant smile, her eyes sparking with resolve. "I would consent," she said quietly, her voice carrying the weight of a vow. Vorus's expression darkened, but before he could speak, Sage Torin stepped from the shadows. The ancient Siltheri priest's translucent skin shimmered like stardust, his eyes holding secrets that seemed to span galaxies. Perhaps he said, his voice slow and resonant, "This is why the humans were called to us." The words hung in the air like a charged pulse, electrifying the room. Every head turned to the priest, whose cryptic prophecies were whispered in Siltheri lore. Torin Vorus warned, "Do not spin myths when my daughter's life is at stake." But Torin only smiled, his gaze shifting between Kyle and Liriana with quiet certainty. "The first touch that does not kill," he said softly. "The first hand that does not burn. Tell me, human, what do you feel when you hold her?" Kyle hesitated, aware his answer could reshape the stars. The warmth in his palm had spread through him now, a tingling that felt less like poison and more like destiny. He looked at Liriana, her eyes searching his, and spoke the truth that burned in his chest. "Like I was born for this." Liriana's breath caught her fingers curling slightly against his wrist. Torin nodded as if confirming a truth written in the cosmos. "Then we shall meet again," he said at twilight, when the veils between worlds thin. As the lab buzzed with whispers and the weight of the impossible settled over them, Kyle knew one thing for certain: he and Liriana had just stepped into a mystery that could save 2 species or burn the galaxy to ash. The question was, could they survive long enough to uncover its truth? The secured testing chamber on Lumora Orbital Station hummed with the pulse of bioscanners, their blue glow dancing across the sterile walls. like ghosts of Zoran Nine's silver storms. Dr. Cale Vance adjusted a sensor array, his hands steady despite the weight of the forbidden experiment. Across the room, Princess Liriana stood poised, her opalescent robes shimmering like a nebula designed to minimize contact, yet unable to hide the silver scales pulsing across her skin. Her emerald eyes met his, a silent question burning in their depths. Can we trust what we're about to uncover? Cale wasn't sure, but stopping now felt like betraying the spark that had ignited between them. Baseline scans first, he said, his voice calm but charged with anticipation. Nora, you ready? Dr. Nora Cade, her auburn hair tied back in a messy knot, flashed a defiant grin from the monitoring station. Scanners are live, Kyle. Let's rewrite the stars or get exiled trying. Her bold enthusiasm defying Ambassador Marcus Dre's protocols was why Cale had trusted her for this clandestine test. Liriana's lips twitched a flicker of amusement, breaking her regal mask. Your friend seems fearless, she said, her melodic voice carrying a warmth that hadn't been there yesterday. She's a scientist, Cale replied, calibrating a handheld bioprobe. Fear's just curiosity with a bad attitude. Nora snorted, her fingers dancing across the console. Says the guy holding hands with a Galactic WMD. Liriana, no offense. None taken. Liriana said, her gaze lingering on Cale. I've been feared for centuries. The weight of her words, 400 years as a living weapon, untouchable alone, settled over the room like a cold fog. Kyle's chest tightened, but he pushed it aside, focusing on the task. Proximity scans first, he said. Liriana stepped closer, no contact yet. She moved with liquid grace, her robes whispering against the floor. As she neared the bioscanners, beeped their screens, erupting with data. Her heart rate spiked, skin conductivity surged, and toxin production hit lethal levels, textbook Silthari defenses. But the moment Cale stepped within arm's reach, the readings shifted. Toxin levels plummeted, her electromagnetic field stabilized, and her scales softened to a deep, calming silver. Nora leaned forward, her eyes wide. Holy stars, Kyle. You're not even touching her, and her defenses are shutting down. It's like her body knows you're safe. Not just safe, Cale said, his gaze locked on Liriana's. It's like it needs me here. Liriana's breath hitched, her scales shimmering with nervous energy. What are you saying? He nodded to the screens. Your toxins aren't random. They're a filter, a genetic lock looking for a match. And my biology, it's the key. Nora's tablet beeped, pulling her attention. He's right. Kyle, your bioresonance is syncing with her electromagnetic signature. It's not just neutralizing her toxins, it's transforming them into bonding agents. Compounds that boost cellular repair, immune function, even reproductive compatibility. Liriana's eyes widened, a flush of silver spreading across her cheekbones. You mean my touch heals you? More than that, Kyle said, his pulse racing. Your body's responding to me the same way. Your stress hormones are crashing when I'm close. Your cellular repair rates are spiking. It's symbiotic. The room fell silent, the implications hanging like a charged nebula. Nora broke the tension with a low whistle. So you two are evolution's dream team? That's next level insane. It's not insane, Cale said, his mind racing. Silthari birth rates have been collapsing for centuries, right? What if your toxins aren't a curse, but a mechanism to find compatible mates from other species? Liriana's hand drifted to her neck, tracing the scales that had marked her isolation since her binding ritual. If that's true, she said softly, then my loneliness, it had a purpose. Cale stepped closer, catching her scent, star bloom and rain-washed crystal. It does, he said, his voice low, and we're going to prove it. Her eyes searched, his hope and fear warring within them. You don't know the cost. She said, my people, my father, they'll see this as treason. Then we'll show them it's salvation, Kyle said, his conviction unshaken. But we need more data, direct contact, controlled conditions. You in? Liriana hesitated, her gaze flicking to the bioscanners, then back to him. For my people, she said finally. For the truth. Nora clapped her hands. All right, cosmic soulmates, let's do this. Kale, take her hand. Slowly, Kale reached out his fingers, brushing Liriana's. The contact sent a jolt through him, a warmth, like starlight flooding his veins. Her scales shimmered, catching the light like a galaxy of tiny moons, and the bioscanners beeped frantically. Toxin levels crashed to zero. Her heart rate slowed to match his, and their electromagnetic resonance pulsed in perfect harmony. Look at this, Nora, whispered, her voice thick with awe. Her defenses are gone, Kale. You're not just immune, you're rewriting her biology. Liriana's lips parted, her breath shallow. What does it feel like? She asked, her voice trembling. For you? Kale's thumb traced her wrist, marveling at the softness of her scales. Like I've found something I didn't know I was missing. He said the words raw and unguarded. Her eyes glistened, a fragile hope blooming within them. For me, it's release, she whispered. For the first time in 400 years, I'm not a killer. The moment stretched, their hands locked, the world narrowing to the point of contact. But the chamber's doors hissed open, shattering the spell. Elder Vorus stormed in his obsidian runes, flaring with rage, flanked by Siltheri guards. Princess, this blasphemy ends now, he growled, his eyes narrowing at their joined hands. Nora's fingers froze on her console, her face paling. How did they? Not well enough. Vorus snapped his gaze, flicking to Kale with contempt. Security Chief Kane is coming. Release my daughter human or face oblivion. Liriana's fingers tightened in Kale's grip, her scales flaring with agitation. Father, please, she said, her voice steady but urgent. This could save our people. You saw the data. I saw a human defying our laws. Vorus roared. He's poisoning your mind. That's nonsense, Kale said, stepping forward, still holding Liriana's hand. The data's clear. Her toxins aren't killing me, they're bonding us. Check the screens. Vorus's eyes flicked to the bioscanners, doubt flickering across his stern features. But before he could respond, crimson alarms blared, bathing the chamber in blood-red light. Jessa Kane's voice echoed through the station speakers, cold and commanding. All personnel to lockdown stations. Princess Liriana to secure quarters immediately. Nora cursed, scrambling to save the data. They're locking us down. Kale, we're out of time. Kale turned to Liriana. Their hands still joined, her eyes wide with fear, but burning with resolve. Do you trust me? He asked, his voice fierce. Her gaze held his, unwavering, with everything she said softly. The secondary door hissed open, revealing Sage Torin. His translucent skin glowed faintly under the crimson lights, his ancient eyes calm amidst the chaos. The stars have decreed this bond, he said, his voice resonating like a cosmic chime. Princess, you must go. Go, Vorus snarled. She's under lockdown, and I invoke the sanctuary right. Torin interrupted, his authority unshakable. As sage, I grant them passage to seek truth beyond these walls. Liriana's breath caught her fingers, tightening in Kyle's grip. The sanctuary rite was a sacred Siltheri law rarely invoked, allowing royals to pursue divine truths free from interference. Vorus's hand froze, his loyalty to tradition warring with his rage. Nora seized the moment, slamming a button on her console. The chamber's security feeds flickered, replaced by a looped recording. That's 30 seconds, she said, grabbing a data chip. Kyle, Liriana, move. Kyle pulled Liriana toward the secondary exit, her robes flowing like starlight as they ran. Torin stepped aside, his serene smile a beacon in the chaos. The truth lies in the void, he said. Guard it. The corridors of Lamora were a maze of flashing alarms and rushing security teams. Nora led the way, her tablet guiding them through service tunnels to evade Jessa's forces. Liriana's hand stayed in Kyle's, her pulse a steady rhythm against his fingers. Where are we going? She asked, her voice steady despite the fear in her eyes. Smuggler's Dock, Nora said over her shoulder. I called in a debt. Hope you're ready to owe a pirate your soul." They burst into a dimly lit hangar where a sleek, battle-scarred ship waited, its engines humming with raw power. Captain Zara Quill leaned against the boarding ramp. Her leather jacket scuffed her eyes sharp as a blade. "Well, ain't this a cosmic mess?" she said, her grin wry. "Princess Doc, get your asses aboard the Nightshade before Kane turns this station into a cage." Kale hesitated, glancing at Liriana. "This is your call," he said. "Once we leave, there's no turning back." Liriana's scales flared with determination, her hand squeezing his. "I've been a prisoner of my own skin for 400 years, she said. "If this is freedom, I'm all in." They sprinted up the ramp as Lumora's klaxons reached a fever pitch. Zara sealed the hatch, her fingers dancing across the controls. "Hold tight," she called, and the Nightshade roared its engines, screaming as it blasted out of the hangar. Inside the cramped cargo hold, Kyle and Liriana sank against a bulkhead, their hands still joined. Nora knelt beside them, clutching the data chip. "I got everything," she said, her voice urgent. "The scans, the resonance, the toxin transformation, it's all here." Kale's eyes widened. Transformation. Nora tapped her tablet, projecting a holographic display of molecular structures. "Your contact with Liriana isn't just neutralizing her toxins," she said. "It's turning them into bonding agents, compounds that supercharge regeneration, immunity, even fertility. It's not random, Kyle. Her biology's a lock, and you're the damn key." Liriana stared at the hologram, her scales shifting to a deep silver. "You mean my touch doesn't just spare him," she said, her voice trembling. "It makes him stronger." "And you," Nora said, zooming in on the data. "Your stress hormones vanish when he's touching you. Your cells are healing faster than any Silthari on record. You two were made for each other." The Nightshade shuddered, a distant explosion rocking the hull. Zara's voice crackled over the intercom. "Pursuit ships, human and Silthari. Your little stunt pissed off everybody. Strap in, this is gonna get ugly." Kale pulled Liriana closer, her warmth grounding him amidst the chaos. "We're not done," he said, his voice fierce. "This is just the start." She nodded, her scales pulsing with resolve. For the truth, she said, her voice a vow. As the first shots of a galactic chase streaked across the void, Kyle knew they were fugitives, now carrying a secret that could bridge worlds or burn them to cinders. The question was, could they outrun the stars long enough to prove it? The Interstellar Council Hall on Erithus shimmered like a cathedral carved from starlight, its crystalline walls refracting the glow of 1,000 distant galaxies. Princess Liriana stood at the central podium, her silver scales blazing under the spotlight, her opalescent robes flowing like a cosmic tide. Beside her, Dr. Cale Vance held her hand, their fingers intertwined, a defiant beacon against the weight of the galaxy's gaze. The data chip in Liriana's palm pulsed with the truth of their bond, a spark that could either ignite a new era or burn two worlds to ash. The chamber thrummed with the murmurs of countless species, Vrenari with their clicking mandibles, Zorathid with their bioluminescent hums, humans with their restless energy. Ambassador Marcus Dre sat rigid among the human delegation, his face tight with dread. Elder Vorus, his obsidian runes glinting, stared at Liriana with a mix of fury and heartbreak. Security Chief Jessa Kane lingered at the chamber's edge, her hand on her plasma pistol, her eyes cold as the void. But the Council's focus was on Kyle and Liriana, their bond a living challenge to the stars. Liriana raised the data chip, her melodic voice cutting through the chaos. "This isn't just our story," she said, her words clear and unyielding. "It's a covenant for our species, a path to survival forged in the stars." Kyle squeezed her hand, his voice steady as he stepped forward. "We've proven human Silthari bonds are not only possible, but essential," he said. "This chip holds the proof, genetic models, bioscans, projections that show our compatibility can save the Silthari from extinction and elevate humanity's future." Holographic screens flared above the podium, displaying data from the fledgling colony on Ilarion. Molecular structures spun, revealing how Liriana's toxins transformed into bonding agents, with kale boosting health and fertility. Graphs projected a reversal of Silthari birth rate decline, while live feeds showed hybrid children vibrant with silver scales and human eyes laughing in Ilarion's glowing fields. The chamber buzzed, a tide of awe and skepticism rippling through the delegates. Dr. Nora Cade rose from the human scientists, her auburn hair loose, her voice sharp with conviction. "We've tested 5 Silthari royals with human partners," she said. "The results are identical symbiotic bonds that enhance vitality across both species. This isn't a fluke, it's evolution at work." A Vernari delegate stood, its mandibles twitching. "The data is intriguing, but mixing species risks cultural collapse. Civilizations could fracture. It could save them." Liriana countered, her scales pulsing with resolve. "My people are dying. For 400 years, I believed myself a curse, chained by a ritual meant to protect. But this bond," she lifted her joined hand with Kyle's, their pulses sinking on the screens, "is no curse. It's our salvation." Kale stepped closer, his voice fierce. "Humans and Silthari share a compatibility unlike any other species. Our immune systems align, our cells enhance each other, our futures intertwine. This isn't just science, it's destiny." Voris surged to his feet, his 4 eyes blazing. "You ask us to betray our bloodline, to dilute our legacy with alien genes," he growled. "This is not salvation, it's sacrilege." Liriana met her father's gaze, her voice soft but unbreakable. "Father, I've lived the cost of our traditions. 4 centuries of isolation, of being feared. This bond with Kyle gives me purpose, not shame. It's hope for our people, a future where no child suffers as I did." The chamber fell silent, her words a beacon piercing the void. Even Marcus hesitated, his arguments faltering. Sage Torin rose from the Silthari delegation, his translucent skin glowing with serene authority. "The prophecies foretold this," he said, his voice resonating like a cosmic bell. "A star-bound covenant to heal our wounds, a union that bridges the stars. Liriana and Kale are its heralds." A human biologist stood, her voice firm. "I volunteer for compatibility testing. If this saves lives, I'm in." A Silthari healer echoed her, then a Zorathid scientist. Voices rose, a chorus of support swelling across the chamber. The tide was turning hope, drowning fear. But Jessa's voice sliced through, cold and precise. "This is a security disaster," she said, stepping forward, her pistol gleaming. "Unregulated bonds invite chaos. We need control, not dreams." Nora shot to her feet, her tablet flashing data. "Control. These bonds reduce aggression, boost cooperation. The only chaos comes from those too scared to evolve." The screens flickered, static erupting as Jessa's allies hacked the feed, spiking Liriana's toxin readings to paint her as unstable. Nora dove to a secondary terminal, her hands a blur. "Got it, rerouting now." Within seconds, the screen stabilized. The truth streaming clear, Liriana's toxins dormant, her bond with Kyle undeniable. The chamber erupted, cheers clashing with shouts. Jessa's hand twitched toward her pistol, but Nora's glare stopped her cold. "Stand down, Kane," she said. "The data doesn't lie." Torin raised a hand, silencing the storm. "The stars have judged," he said. "Let the council vote." The vote was a crucible, each species ballot flickering on the screens. Liriana's hand tightened in Kyle's, her scales glowing with nervous light. When the final tally appeared, a gasp swept the chamber. The compatibility project was protected under interstellar law, a mandate for unity. Marcus's shoulders slumped, his influence shattered. Voris's eyes dimmed, his fury yielding to reluctant acceptance. Jessa's task force was disbanded, her allies reassigned. The chamber roared with a mix of triumph and dissent, but the verdict was sealed. Liriana turned to Kael, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. "We did it," she whispered, her voice trembling with relief. "For us," Kael said, brushing a strand of hair from her face, her scales warm beneath his touch. "For them." Months later, on Alarian's vibrant plains, Kael and Liriana stood beneath twin suns, the colony alive with hope. Bonded pairs, human and Siltheri, worked side by side, their hybrid children racing through fields of glowing grass, their laughter a promise fulfilled. Liriana's toxins were gone, replaced by a warmth that felt like home. She touched Kael's face, her scales shimmering under the alien light. "You were right," she said, her voice soft with wonder. "I was meant for this." "For us," he corrected, pulling her close. Their kiss was a vow kept after centuries of waiting. Behind them, Ilarian thrived humans and Siltheri united by strength, not fear. Somewhere across the stars, Sage Torin smiled, knowing the void had been bridged at last. The covenant of stars was sealed, a new era dawning in the light of shared futures. This is more than a tale of forbidden love. It's a blazing testament to what happens when we dare to reach across the void. Kael and Liriana's journey from a single touch that defied death to a covenant that reshaped the galaxy shows us the power of connection in the face of fear. Their bond teaches us that love, whether between two souls or entire species, can rewrite destinies, topple traditions, and birth futures we never dared imagine. In a universe divided by doubt, they proved that humanity's greatest strength is our ability to unite, to evolve, to say, we are more than our fears. This story challenges us to look at our own world. What divides can we bridge? What fears can we defy? What futures can we build if we choose hope over hate? Kael and Liriana's spark lit a galaxy. Now it's your turn to carry that flame. Let their courage inspire you to reach out, to create, to become part of something greater than yourself. Because in the end, it's not just about surviving the stars, it's about lighting them up together. Did Kael and Liriana's epic ignite your heart? Want more stories of human defiance, cosmic love, and galaxy-changing stakes? Smash that like button, hit subscribe, and ring the bell to join our HFY crew. Let's keep the stars burning bright. Don't miss the next saga.